hey, here I am. Hello, and welcome to another crochet tutorial where I'm going to show you how to make a crocheted axolotl in the keychain version, or in this small, chunky version using the same pattern. Okay, the only difference is this is made with worsted weight yarn, and at the top we added the ball chain with a little hook right here. Suitable for carrying keys or attaching it to a backpack. Axolotl has a little tail on the back, little paws in the front, and the familiar axolotl gills on the side. Here you've seen I made many of them. There is a reptile show coming up, so I was asked to make lots of axolotls. So for this video, I'm making this axolotl using the same pattern and a keychain version as well. So come join me if you want to learn how to make this axolotl keychain. And I hear what he's saying, pick me, make me. Let's get started. Now, if you would like to make the keychain version, let me show you what we're going to use. This is worsted weight yarn. For the body, we're doubling it. This is a great scrap project, so even if you have just a little bit of yarn, it's perfect. So we need doubled for the body. We're going to use a single for the gills and the accent on the tail. The hook that I'm using is a 4.5 millimeter crochet hook. Of course, we have our scissors for cutting our yarn. This is a ball and chain for a keychain. I got this off of AliExpress. And then here's the hook. These come in a box of 200, and these come in a bag of 200. Many colors. A tapestry needle and a stitch marker. Next, I'm going to show you what you're going to need if you choose to make the plushie version. Now, I brought the camera up close because I wanted you to see the safety eyes that we'll be using. These are 16 millimeter. This will be for the plushie with the blanket yarn. And this one is 8 millimeter. See the huge difference in size? Gives them all a little personality. Okay, so the 8 millimeter is for the keychain, and the 16 millimeter is for the blanket yarn. Yes, the scene has changed just a little bit. Here I'm using Bernat blanket yarn. This is a color of pink. We're not doubling it like we are with the worsted weight. We're just using one strand. The other color for the gills is a raspberry color, which is a darker pink. This will be for the back of the tail, as like I said, the gills. Okay, I'm going to be using a 7 millimeter hook. You can use an 8 millimeter if you like, but I'm using 7. We're going to need our scissors, tapestry needle, and a stitch marker. Also, for the accent on the cheeks, we'll be using, now this color is showing blue, but this is a aqua color with sparkle in it of blanket yarn. And for the axolotl keychains, I used green. You only need about, I'd say 8 inches, so that makes sure that you have enough to weave your ends in. We'll also be using black yarn, blanket or regular worsted weight yarn for the mouth. So let's get started. Because the pattern is the same for either the keychain or the plushie, I'm going to be doing it in the plushie. So before we begin any project, I usually pull my yarn from the center of the skein, but we want to pull out an ample amount to make sure, yeah, sometimes we get, see, we get in the center as well as the outside, you get these knots and stuff. So it's always a good idea to pull out what you need to get started with so that your tension will remain the same through the beginning as well as throughout. So pull out an ample amount, and we're going to start off with a magic circle. Okay, so we're going to start off with a short tail. Let's take it and wrap it around our fingers till we have like an X. Once you flip it over, take your hook and go under the first, pull the other one through, twist it just a little bit, and then take your working yarn and finish like you're doing a chain stitch. And this is how we're going to begin with our magic circle. Now, this one we tightened here, don't make it too tight, otherwise when we pull it closed it might not allow enough for the tail to come through because it'll be too tight. So we're going to be placing 8 single crochets into our magic circle. So to do a single crochet, we're going to go through, we're going to draw up a loop, yarn over and through the 2 loops on the hook, and that completes 1 single crochet. We have our stitch marker here, so we want to go ahead and mark that first single crochet. Let's continue on. Number 2, number 3, keep going until you have 8. Okay, after we have 8, take your finger and thumb and pinch the beginning with our tail right here. Let's pull. You're going to see this is going to close that circle. Okay, pull it till it's snug. Don't pull it so hard where you're going to break the yarn. Remember, this is just a thread on the inside holding the cut yarn in place. So drop that down, and into our first single crochet we're going to place another 1 single crochet. It's going to go basically on the top, and replace our stitch marker. Into our next stitch we're going to place 2 single crochets. When you have 2 single crochets in 1 stitch, it is known as an increase. Okay, so we have 1 single crochet, 1 increase. This is our repeat for this particular row. So let's continue on with 1 single crochet, into the next stitch, our increase, which is 2 in the same space. Moving on, 1 single crochet, an increase, 1 single crochet, and an increase. Okay, and this completes our second row. Let's move on to our next row. 1 single crochet, replace our stitch marker. This helps to verify this is the beginning of our row. In our next, 1 single crochet, and in the next one, increase. So the last row we covered 2 stitches. This row we're going to cover 3 stitches. So we're going to make it increase. 1, 1, increase. Okay, let's continue on. You're also going to notice it's going to curl up. That's okay. 1, 1, increase. Okay, I'm going to let you go on your own. Continue with the 1, 1, increase, 1, 1, increase, and I'll meet with you after you've completed that. Please pause your video. So how did you do? You'll notice that it is cupping up a little bit, and that's okay. So let's take out our stitch marker. In our next stitch, 1 single crochet. Now this is going to begin our repeat. 1 single crochet, 1 increase. So remember, the increase is 2 single crochets in 1 stitch. We're going to continue this around. At the end of the row, I would like for you to count your stitches to make sure that you have 24 single crochets. Okay, so to count, right here, you see the little V. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. But remember, our repeat is 1 single crochet, 1 increase. Please continue this around. I'll meet you when you get back here. Please pause your video again. After you've confirmed that you have 24 stitches, here's what I would like for you to do. We want to also kind of set these stitches, so tug on it just a little bit. Okay, and you can see how it opened it up. Just that little tiny bit. We are going to take our magic circle tail. Let me grab my needle here. And let's go ahead and reinforce our magic circle. We don't want to cut this until we've reinforced it. Now if you notice right here, it has opened just a little bit, and that's okay. Now even if you're doing the keychain version, I would still like for you to do this, please. You notice that our yarn is coming out this way, so we want to go into the middle of these single crochets so that we can help reinforce this center. And you can snug it up even just a little bit more. So pull it through about 4 stitches and snug it up. That'll make it nice and tight center top. Okay, so after you've done that, we want to lock it in. So let's go and grab the next stitch and pull it through the loop. We're going to go back through that loop again, and that'll help lock it in. Now if you want, you can cut this, or you can leave it long and that the stuffing will cover it when it's done. So let's get back to this. Now you've noticed that I've left it where my stitches here are on my right side of my stitches are right here. Okay, we will flip it out, but I have found that when you want a good solid body, that if you have your wrong stitches on the outside, it'll help make it so that this is a little bit more secure in making of these amigurumi plushie things. So we're going to start where this and the next 5 rows are going to be a straight 24 single crochets per row. Now you notice the way I marked my first this way, not on the end, because this will also help me to remind me that of my rows. You'll find that as you count your rows, it's easier to have it count with the body of the single crochet marked instead of here on top, because as you start the first of every row, unless you write it down, you really won't remember how many rows you've done. Or if you had to set it down, will you remember how many you have done? So I place it here as my first of how many rows I'm going to do with the same stitch over and over again. So let's do 24 single crochets per row for a total of 5 rows. Okay, I'm not going to bore you with what I'm going to do. I'm going to encourage you to leave the right side here in the center, and when we flip it out, you'll see a difference of how it'll look. So please leave your right side in front in the center and do your stitches all the way around. Okay, and I'll meet you there. So we have like a little bowl here. Okay, remember this is the outside. So let's go ahead and flip it over. And if you want to see if we get our rows just right, here's our first. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And if you can't go up, our last stitch is over here on this row. Okay, so we can take this out, and we'll place 1 single crochet in that next stitch and add our stitch marker. Okay, so we have the right side of our stitches facing outward. Since we have 1 single crochet done, let's add 6 single crochets. So there's 2, 3, we're going to need a total of 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. The next stitch is going to give us our little foot here on the front. So we're going to do what is called a bobble or a cluster stitch. So to do that, let's place our finger on our loop on the hook and yarn over and insert the hook into the next stitch. We're going to draw up a loop and then yarn over through only 2 loops on the stitch. Okay, we're going to do this a total of 4 times. So here's number 1, and we're all going to do it in the same hole right here. So you got your finger on your loop, yarn over, secure that down too, go through the same hole, pull up a loop, okay, then yarn over through 2 of the loops on the hook. Okay, we're going to be increasing the loops on our hook, but we don't want to let them go just yet. Okay, so finger on those loops, yarn over into the same hole, pull up a loop, yarn over through 2. We got 1 more to do. So yarn over through that same hole. It's going to get a little tight, but it'll work. Yarn over through 2. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4. This one here is from the last stitch. Okay, so here's the secret of getting the yarn through all of these loops on the hook without any problem. So yarn over, aim your hook down, and also push up at the same time. and it'll slide right through. Okay, snug it up just a little bit. Now pulling these stitches over, you're going to see that right here's a single crochet, and here's our next stitch. So we're going to insert the hook and do a single crochet. Now if your stitches made the bump in the back, take your finger, just push it forward towards you, and here we have our little bump right here. Okay, so we have 1 here. We need a total of 5. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Our next stitch is going to be this bobble stitch again. I'm going to go a little bit quicker, but I'll still go with you on this. So yarn over into the next hole, pull up a loop, yarn through 2. Yarn over into the same hole, pull up a loop, yarn over through 2. We're going to do this 2 more times. Yarn over into the same hole, pull up a loop, yarn over through 2. Here's our last time. Yarn over through the 2 loops on the hook. Now we're going to go through all 5. Yarn over, aim your hook down and push up, and it'll all come through nicely. Find our next hole. So here's our last single crochet, because here's where all of those stitches were. We want to insert the hook into the next hole and do a single crochet. And if your bobbles all went to the back, push them forward. All right, we're almost done with this row. We're going to be adding a tail as well. So here's the first. We want 7 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. You should have 3 single crochet holes left. Now because of the width of our tail and the half double crochet that we're going to be using in that tail, we're going to do a single crochet 2 together for the beginning of this stitch. So to do that, we're going to go yarn in and pull up a loop, okay, and yarn into the next hole and pull up a loop, and then yarn over through all 3. This will help close this gap that the length of the half double crochets of the tail will create. So let's chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And here I got some black fuzzy from when I was putting the mouth on my other one. Okay, so this is not a finished stitch, whatever is on the hook. The one that's finished is our first one right here, and this is the chain that we're going to skip. So place your finger below the next one. Place your finger on the loop on the hook, yarn over, and we're going to go through that one that we held open for it. So yarn over and pull up a loop, and to do a half double crochet, we're just going to go through all 3 of the loops on the hook. So that was our first one. Let's do our second one. Yarn over through the next chain, yarn over through all 3 loops on the hook, and we have one more left. Okay, so we've created our little tail. Now to complete this row, we have 1 single crochet left, but here's what we're going to do. we're going to do another 2 single crochet together. So this one right here was in this stitch, so we're going to use this same hole. So we're going to pull up a loop, and we're going to go to the next one and pull up a loop. Okay, and then to finish it, yarn over through all 3 loops on the hook, and that completes this row. We're going to be adding the eyes in just a minute, but we want to get started onto the next row so we don't have this cluster on the loop of the hook. So let's do our first single crochet, replace our stitch marker, and enlarge the loop on our hook. Okay, so we're going to turn it so that we have our 2 little bumps here in front of us. And since I'm doing the plushie, I'm going to pull out my 16mm eyes. I got these through AliExpress. It takes about a month to get, but to me it's worth the wait. Alright, so we're going to come up here, and you notice that this row right here is the last increase row that we had, and this first row is where all of the beginning of the 5 was at. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we had our bobble row. So let's go back up here. Here's our increase row. So we're going to go to the first row, and I'm going to go straight up from the edge of the foot right here and place an eye. And I'm going to come over here and do the same thing on the other side, making sure that you follow the same line. Okay, now if you prefer to have it wider, remember this is your look, your style, you can do that. I'm going to bring it in just a little closer because I like it above the feet and on the inside just a little bit. So we've inserted those. Let's push this through. Okay, we've got one eye on. Let's put the other eye on. Okay, you want to make sure they're down good and tight. There we go. And so now our eyes are in here. Let's go back to our crocheting. Now I'm going to help you on this row because we're going to be working over these bobble stitches as well. So this row we're going to do a single crochet, and then we're going to be doing invisible decreases. Invisible decreases take 2 stitches and combine them into one. You'll notice that at the top we have like a V stitch. So you have the back loop and the front loop. We're going to pick up the front loop of the first of the next stitch and the next first of the next stitch. Okay, make sure the loop on your hook is tightened from the previous stitch. So yarn over and through those 2 loops that we just went in front of, and then yarn over and complete the single crochet. Take note that as you can see where this lift is, that's the end of that double crochet. So we want to go into the next stitch right here. 1 single crochet. And then we're going to be doing our decrease again. I'm going to show you what we're going to do when we go over the foot, because we're going to keep the repeat going. So we did our decrease. So here's our single crochet. So your next stitch is the decrease, the bobble right here. So we're going to pick up the front of the top of the bobble, which is that really long stitch, and then the next stitch over. Yarn over through the 2 and complete that single crochet, and then the single crochet. Okay, continue around with the same thing until you get to the tail, and I'll meet you there, because how we're going to close this up is a little bit different than what we would normally do. I didn't show you the second foot because it was the same as the first, so I hope you had no problem going through that. The last decrease is like 1 stitch before the tail. So the next 3 stitches are going to be single crochet, and let me show you where they're going to be at. The first one is going to be right here. You see how the tail right here? So right here's our next single crochet. Now pull the tail forward. Okay, and here's the half double crochet going across. So we want to come down here and pick up that stitch from below the half double crochet and do a single crochet there. And then we want to come over here on the other side of the tail and do a single crochet there. Okay, you see how that closes up so there's no hole for any stuffing or anything to come through. Okay, let's move on to our next row. Let's start off with 1 single crochet. We'll be stuffing in just a minute in case you're wondering. Okay, 1 more single crochet. So 1, 1, and then decrease. Right, this is our repeat for this row. So 1, 1, and decrease. One, 1, and decrease. Okay, we're going to do this one more time. 1, 1, and decrease. Okay, and we're going to do it one more time, and then we're going to finish off. So 1, 1, and decrease. In the next stitch, we're going to do a slip stitch. So into the next stitch, pull up a loop, and then take this loop and go through the one that's already on the hook, and that's it. Let's leave a nice little tail. Pull the yarn through and snug it up. Okay, so we have a hole, and we're going to place our stuffing in there. So with our polyfill, just start putting it in, and you want to stuff it until it's really firm. Okay, so what I do is I usually push it all the way down, and then I take the polyfill and separate it in the center so that it goes out to the sides, and that helps give it a little bit of a shape. So keep stuffing until you feel that it's, when you squeeze it, it's a little firm. Please continue with that and pause your video. So here we have a nice little firm guy here. And then we're going to take, with our tapestry needle, we're going to close that bottom off. And if you're wondering how come the hole wasn't any smaller, because we want it to sit upright, and when you have too many stitches here, it causes it to bow out. And with this lesser amount of stitches, it'll help it to lay flatter. So we're going to go and pick up the front loops of the stitches that are left here. We're going to run through them with a running stitch. And once you get back to the start, let's go ahead and pull this hole closed. Okay. All right, when you get it closed, take a look at the bottom. You see how nice and flat it will lay. Now before we seal it off, I'm going to show you how I do mine. I'm going to place a little knot right here. So I drew up a loop. I'm going to tighten that one part down, make this one a little bit smaller, and take my needle and go through the rest. You notice how it never wants to lay flat for you. And then tighten that one loop, and then tighten the second one. Okay, and then I like to take my stitches and run them through the center of the previous rows of stitches. To me, it helps it to hide better, because if you just pull it in, over a period of time it will work itself out. So I'm running it through. I'm going to go over one and go back the same way I came. It's kind of like weaving it in, but at least it's a guarantee that hopefully in the future it doesn't come out with all the playing and loving it'll probably get. And since the camera is aiming down at it, you can't really see how. Let me see if I can do this here. There you go. You see how nice and flat it's sitting? Okay, let's add our gills and our backing on the tail, and then we'll almost be done here. So at the beginning of our gills, which are these here on the side, I'm going to start off with a tail. This tail will be used to help secure the endings locked into the back of the axolotl. So let's place a slip knot on our hook. Okay, and then on our little axolotl here, we're going to go over 2 rows, 1, 2, and up 2 rows, 1, 2. So right here, we're going to start. I think that's where I put it at. Let me make sure. Yeah, 1, 2, 1, 2. Nope. Yeah, that's the right place. My blooper. Okay, pull the yarn from behind. So we've inserted through the stitch right here, and then pull the yarn through. Okay, and then yarn over through the 2 loops on the hook. And then we're going to tighten the tail. And we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to do a half double crochet like we did on the tail. So yarn over. We're going to skip the first and into the second. We're going to do our half double crochet, and into the next stitch our half double crochet. Okay, so we're going to go now insert the hook where we came out, and we're going to go under the next stitch up. We're going to do a single crochet like we did before, so we're going to drop a loop, yarn over through the 2 loops on the hook. We'll snug that up. chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. So yarn over, skip the first chain. In the second chain, do a half double crochet, and then the half double crochet in the next chain. We're going to skip that single crochet, we're going to insert our hook, so remember we came out here, we're just going to go in the same hole and go under that one. And if I'm hitting my camera, I'm sorry, I'm really close to it. So yarn over. Okay, and this is be our last one, so chain 3. Yarn over, skip the first chain and do a half double crochet, yarn over into the second one, do a half double crochet. Okay, and then we're going to do our last single crochet, so in and under. Okay, we should have 3 on the hook. Leave it with a little tail and then pull it through. It's cute, huh? All right, so to bury these tails, I'm going to take my yarn through my needle, and the hole that I came out right here, I'm going to go into the same one, and I'm going to come over here to the back and find an opening between the stitches and pull that yarn through, take the needle out, and in through the very first hole, come over and make it come out through the same hole that we did with the other one. Okay, so we're going to snug them both up just a little bit. Then we take and make a square knot. Cut it to about 1 inch. And then take your hook and come down a few stitches and go in through the same hole that the yarn came out of and make it so that the hook pulls all that into the body. Okay, so that's how we finish after we put our gills on. But let's go ahead and move on to the other side. So please place a slip knot on your hook with about a 6-inch tail. You know, getting the second one on is not always the same as the first one. So what helps is if we come over here, count over 2 stitches or 2 rows, and then go up 2 rows. But also you want to find where your end is and come over, and then sometimes just by having your needle, let's see, yeah, 1, 2, having your needle, that helps a lot too. Let's make sure. 1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah, 1, 2, so we're on the third one. So let's do it right here. Okay, and if we look down through the center, yes, that looks about right. Okay, but we're not starting down here, we're starting up here. So I'm going to get out a second needle, and I'm going to follow along. Here's the line right here. So that means we're going to start right here within this section right here. So since we have the slip knot on our hook, I want to pick up this row of stitches right here. Whoops. I guess it might help if I got the needle out of the way, huh? Okay. And do our single crochet. And let's make sure that that looks like it's in the right spot. Yep. Okay. So let's do like we did before. We're going to chain 3, skip the first chain, half double crochet, half double crochet, and then single crochet, making sure you're headed right straight for the needle. So instead of boring you of what you've already done, go ahead and do the same thing we did here on this side, and I'll meet you after you've sewn in the back. We'll be ready to start the tail. So I'll meet you at the tail. Please pause your video. So is your sewing assign a little personality? All right, let's do the same thing with the tail. We're going to start off with like 6 inches. Place a slip knot on our hook. Okay, we're going to turn our axolotl upside down, have the tail facing you. All right. Now, onto the side of the tail, we're going to pick up right here at this stitch. Okay, we're going to do a slip stitch. So we're going to pull it through and then pull it through the loop on our hook. And then we'll take our tail and tighten it down. And then we have 1, 2, 3. We're going to place the single crochet in each one of those stitches. So here's 1, 2, 3. Now the one here on the end is the chain 1 that we skipped. So we're going to place 3 single crochets in that chain space. There's 1, 2, and 3. And if you're wondering why, it's because we're going around the side. And now we have 1, 2, 3. Let's place 3 single crochets down this side, 1 per stitch. Okay, and then to finish it up, we're going to go under that single crochet, pull up a loop, and pull it through that loop on the hook, snug up your stitching, and another 6-inch tail, and we'll pull it through. Alright, and that's what our little tail will look like. But to finish our tail, we're going to do the same thing like we did before. So we want to go in where we started right here and come up through a stitch hole. Snug it up just a little. Okay, and then through the last, and we're going to come out through that same hole right here. Okay, so right here where that stitch came out from the previous time. Okay, and then hold your tail and pull it just a little bit. And add a square knot. And cut it to about 1 inch long. Insert your hook, usually in a different place than you had before, in between stitches. Come out through that hole, pick up that collection of yarn, and bury it into the body. We're almost done. So here our little guy, he's missing a face. So let's go ahead and add our face. So let's pull out our black and whatever color you choose to use for the little cheeks underneath. I've threaded my needle already, and I'm going to start from up here. I'm going to go in between some stitching. I'm going to come underneath the eye, not directly straight down, but over where there's an opening in the stitching. I'm going to pull this through until I have a short little tail. Then I'm going to cross over just the length of one stitch, and I'm going to do that 2 times. I like placing 2 wraps for my cheeks. I think it enhances the cheeks just a little bit. And I'm going to come over here to the other side and do the same thing. I'm just going to go across one stitch. And then go down and come out the same hole I went in. And then I'll tie it off. I'm not going to show you that. Let's go ahead and tie it off and bury. And then the last thing we'll do is our smile. The nice thing about accents is that it really doesn't take a lot of yarn. All right, so we're going to decide, we're going to have here to here. So it's basically under the edge of the eye for this particular axolotl. Okay, so I'm going to come in down here and come up come out over here. Now I know throughout the video you've probably been hearing this noise behind me. It's my heater because it is the middle of winter. So if it's a bother, I'm sorry. I've been trying to work around it, but sometimes I just can't calculate when it's going to actually happen. Okay, so we're going to come down and we're going to kitty corner right here. So as we shape our smile, you see why we're going over? So we're going to come across about 1.5 stitches. And this will help lock that smile into place. So we're going to go across. So we're going to go over the top of the smile again and go down into that same hole and then come out down here. Oops, picking up the remnants of the other stuff. So here's our cute little smile. Okay, and this is a tie off and bury. I'm not going to show that to you. But for those that are doing the keychain, I'm going to show you how to attach the keychain to the worsted weight axolotl. So to add the keychain to this, the keychain size axolotl, you notice that we have our circle up here. So right here in the center front, you want to go over one with your hook. You want to go underneath and go straight across to the one that's going to make it straight across for you. Now this chain is big enough that it will fit into the 4.5 hook, so go ahead and stick it in like so. Now this worked fine when it wasn't on camera. Remember, anytime on camera I always seem to mess up. Oops, I did it, and I know you can do it too. So you'll pull it through with your hook. Now we always want the opening to open away from you. So let's place it up here and go, whoops, go like this to the other side. And then we can go ahead and lock that ball into that little socket. Here we go. We have our axolotl keychain. I really hope you had a great time making this. In all actuality, because this is a video tutorial, these little guys take about a half an hour to make. But because when you're talking about what stitches you need to make and everything else, the video tutorial always seems like it takes forever, and it's really not. It's very, very simple to do. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you make these for your friends or even for yourself. They're great for the kids for backpacks, or even great for holding your keys on this loop holder here. So till next time, I hope you enjoy all these things that I offer you in crocheting. Come back and see me again. I'd love to have you around. Till next time, bye bye.